Why buy your next nitrous oxide system from Compucar? When it comes to nitrous oxide systems, we know what it takes to win, period. We can ship all nitrous oxide systems next day to you across the nation. If you buy local, you get local. You buy from a winner, you become a winner. More Grudge racers trust Compucar nitrous systems than any other shop in the Southeast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are now here at the home of the doggone innovator, the doggone tester, the everything in racing, dealing with racing at Little Mo's Speed Shop. But in conjunction with Compucar nitrous oxide systems and Little Mo's Speed Shop, and it was hooked up to bring timing out. But through research and development and thought, Little Mo come up with another idea. Now, we hadn't did that much R&D on it, but we have did enough to know that some cars react better when you turn the doggone timing out, as the AWAC is now done. But some cars got so much you might have to take the doggone the nitrous out of it. And with that being said, I'm gonna let Little Mo tell you he has reworked one to work with pulling nitrous out. Mo, how would that work then, pulling the nitrous out? I don't see how that would work, Mo.
Well, the motors are getting bigger and bigger in these cars, on these 29-inch tires, you know, the 29.5s. And some of the nitrous motors that are out there these days, you can't pull enough timing out of it. Once a car gets enough momentum and gets the front end a foot and a half off the ground, you can't take enough timing out of it with the nitrous still going through the motor in order to calm the car down. I've talked with a lot of people that's running nitrous cars, and they've said the exact same thing. They pulled their motors down to 0 degrees. They pulled them down to -2, -4 degrees. And it don't do any good once a car gets, 16, 18 inches off the ground. There's so much momentum running through that damn crankshaft that you just can't slow it down enough. The only thing to do is to literally kill the damn power. You can't kill it enough with timing, so the next best thing is to turn the nitrous off.
But Mo, if I got 2 or 3 stages, how would that work with 2 or 3 stages, Mo?
The easiest thing that I'm doing right now is I'm literally interrupting the throttle switch. And interrupting the throttle switch is going to cut all the nitrous off completely and start the throttle switch back over.
Well, Mo, if I'm up in the air and I come all the way back down, how that's gonna work? Do I come all the way back down when you cut it, Mo?
No, the AWAC, from the testing I've done, the AWAC has about a 3-inch window to it.
So in other words, you saying it's just like me walking the throttle?
Exactly. It's
Okay.
just like blipping the down throttle, just enough to kill the momentum up, but the AWAC will actually turn the nitrous back on before the front tires hit the ground.
Okay.
Which, in theory, shouldn't upset the car like a lot of people probably think it would.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, in other words, I'm up here and I just come here and I just go back. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta stop and think. This thing is not designed, it's designed to salvage a run, but anytime you interrupt the nitrous, anytime you have to blip the throttle, anytime you have to let off of it, you're not going to see the same ET you would on a full pass.
But you would still be able to make a pass, just in case you
You'll still be able to make a pass, and the best thing about it is you're not going to tear anything up.
Okay, well then, how does this thing go on and off? You got to set up here where we can see where somebody can get in there? Speedy, could you get in there and see? We want to see how this thing works, Speedy. Nitrous did not activate because he's on the ground, but as he's going to simulate, as he's getting the jack, he's going to simulate the car going up. We're going to have Speedy to do the same thing again, and we'll see how it cuts on and off. Is that right, Mo?
Yep.
Okay, let me know what you want me to do.
All right, go ahead and mash the throttle.
Mash the throttle switch.
All right, you see the test light on?
Test light is on.
You might want to focus on that test
Test
light.
on the tire is on. Okay, we finna show you how the height will go back and forward and turn on and off. We got Speed over here is gonna hit the button going back and forward just to show you the timing going on and off. Just so he doing that because so the timer won't time out. So go ahead, Speedy. And the motor's gonna raise it up and show you how this works.
Right. He's just bouncing the nitrous off and on to keep the cylinder from getting hot.
See, right now, it's at a point right now.
The 8-way
That just kicked in and it's turned off. Now, when it come down, just hold it now, Speedy. When it come down, it should come back on.
The 8 just activated.
Just activate it to stop it. Now, watch when it come back
Now
down.
watch how much the front end comes down.
And it's back on.
Nitrous just came back on.
And then when it go back up, it'll go off. Go back up more quick. Go back up. Now it's off again. Just hold it, there, Speedy. Just hold it, Speedy. Just hold it. If you see right now, he's holding it, nothing is on. That's because he's up to 18 inches or wherever you got yours set, wherever you got it set. Once you come down, keep holding it, Speedy. Once you come down to a certain thing, it's gonna turn it back on. Mo, ease it down, Mo. Once it come back down, you will see the light come back on. Once it get back, it's back on now.
And that ain't but really about a 2-inch window.
That's a 2-inch window. Just tell everybody what happens in a nutshell.
Well, with the heights I got it set at right now, you know, the frame is allowed to come up probably about 18 inches, and really caught it and interrupted the nitrous. Interrupting the nitrous means that you don't have to take your foot off the throttle. That's one thing we don't never want to do in drag racing, you know, is take our foot off the throttle. So by deactivating the nitrous, it's going to kill enough momentum for the car to lose that upward momentum. It's going to let it level out. Even though you're still on horsepower, it's going to level out, and it's probably going to take it, you know, a half a second, 3/4 of a second to level out, come back down to 2 inches. You've seen the window that it had. It seemed to be working at about 2 inches. The nitrous is going to come back on, and interrupting the throttle switch is going to start your timers back over, so it's not going to come back on full blast. You know, all 3 systems galore.
Okay, so you're just going to recycle your timing that you got in there.
We're going to recycle our timers.
So that means the motor don't run fat, lean, or nothing like that, Mo?
Exactly. You know, when you cut the nitrous off, of course, there's going to be a little residual fuel in the down motor, but it's only going to be off for, I mean, a half a second at the most.
So, Mo, what you think there's any advantages or disadvantages of doing it this way or with the timing? Which way do you prefer, since you haven't did that much research on this one?
Well, in my opinion, it depends on the size of the crankshaft that you're swinging.
In other words,
the size of the motor.
Okay.
It depends on the size of the motor. Like I said, a big motor, a turbo motor, well, naturally, you're not going to be able to hook this up to a turbo motor.
Okay.
They do it with timing.
Okay.
And, you know, they've got other ways that they can control it too, you know, boost here and there. With nitrous and a big motor, I think this is the best way to do it, because you're not going to be snatching so much timing out of the motor, which is going to load the cylinders up with more unburnt fuel.
Okay.
You know, pulling a lot of timing out of the motor. And you got to stop and think that this is not a tuning device. This is not a tuning aid. This is, in a perfect world, exactly, in a perfect world, we don't never want that thing to activate.
So in other words, you're saying basically if you got the right setup on your car shouldn't get up that high to use it.
Exactly.
But if it did,
if you got the front end right, if you got the limiters right, if you got the shocks right, we should never have to use that.
But
it should never activate.
It's good to have, so you won't have, that'll be something out your mind that you won't have to be worried about. Right?
I would have gave anything if I would have had one on the lawyer's car in Orlando.
When you bust the oil pan.
Yeah, when we busted oil pan.
Yeah, stood up and bust the oil pan.
But, you know, we were starting out fresh, you know, with a brand new converter and all kind of new stuff, and that was the very first pass. And I missed the front end.
I was just gonna say that, Mo, not to say that against you as the tuner, but how did you miss getting up that high? Did you just, something you forgot to do?
Well, we just had a bad converter in the car
Okay.
weeks before, and the car has never even tried to pick the front tire up off the dumb ground. You know, it was just shitting and getting, but it just wasn't doing it fast enough.
Right, right.
We got down there to Orlando, we got on a good track. I opted to leave the struts alone, and it ended up costing us a lot of money.
So Mo, basically what you're saying, racing now has become a tuner's race now. Because these cars with these big motors and all this power, it's a tuner's game. And like I said, the tuner with the most, I want to say experience or the most research and development is going to be the better tuner or the better car. Tell me about it, Mo.
Well, it's definitely getting to be a tuner's game, but I mean, anybody that's capable of having a car that fast, you know, capable of doing that kind of power, they've either got somebody helping them or they know a good bit themselves.
Well, Mo,
There's
now,
a lot of people out there, you know, that can do this stuff themselves. They don't have to pay.
Mo, now, everybody know you in the racing game, at least around this area and around the world with some of these videos they put out. Mo, you one of the top guys in it, but Mo, do you know everything, or do you bounce some of the ideas off other tuners, or what? How you work?
I've been doing it for a long time, and yes, I do know a lot of people, and I talk to a lot of people. You know, there's a lot of us that share ideas. You know, I've got people I call. I've never claimed to know everything. You know, nobody can ever claim that. If they do, they're a dummy.
So overall, Mo, normally you would not just go out and put this on a customer's car without doing some research and knowing what you're doing. Basically, what I'm saying is, you wouldn't go out and just throw this on a customer's car and just tell them to go with it, would you?
No, I don't do that. The customers that I deal with, they trust me, and I won't do anything to anybody's car that I won't do to my own car,
Right.
or to any car, you know, that I mess with.
Okay.
You know, this is a good safety device, and that's all it is a safety device.
Okay, as you heard what he said, safety device. Basically, he's saying you still need to tune it for your car, but this is the AWAC controller brought to you by the Compucar nitrous oxide system.
But the main reason why we're doing this is we're just showing how quick the AWAC does work. There's a lot of people that's going to say, no, hooking it to the nitrous, you can't do that because the car's going to get out there, you're going to knock the breath out of it by turning the nitrous off, the front end's going to come down, it's going to automatically come back on, it's going to blow the tires off.
That's exactly what I heard, yes.
Well, this car's got a power grid box in it, and it also has a race pack on it. If we have suspect that it activated, we can immediately go to our SD card in the power grid box, and we can immediately see if the nitrous cut off. All right, if we see that the nitrous cut off, and we know that the car did get the front end off the ground, you know, of course, we look in the box, we see that the nitrous cut off. The first thing you got to do, don't mess with the AWAC. You don't want to try and recalibrate it because it did its job. It cut the nitrous off. You've got to go to the front end and get the tune-up in the front end. Take some travel out of it or tighten the struts up on it. This car's also got a race pack in it, so I can actually go into it and look and see if the nitrous cut off. I can also look at a throttle switch issue, and I can immediately tell if the AWAC cut the nitrous off. So having a race pack in the system, and of course having the power grid, so you have some data to go back and look at, it's a must for a car like this. It's a must. As quick as this thing seems to be working right now, it's going to it's going to turn the nitrous back on before the front tires get back on the ground. And when a car is on the way back down, and it's just like when you see a lot of people blipping one in the air, when it's coming halfway down, they're back in the nitrous, full blast. And that's why they don't slam down. You know, there's a lot of videos out there, boys riding them out, riding out. They come down easy and make a pass.
So that saves you oil pan, headers, and a whole bunch of more stuff.
Exactly.
Okay.
And to keep it from coming up that high, the nitrous is going to come back on. Time it starts leveling out, and that way it won't let the car come down and bounce. And you know, when they bounce is when they want to go back up in the air, and it gets even worse. So as quick as this thing is working, it should eliminate the bounce, and it should allow you to still make a full pass. Granted, it's not going to be as fast because we blip the nitrous off and on.
Right.
But it's going to save your oil pan, transmission pan,
Headers.
frame, headers, you know.
All right, and where you can get all this good information at, you can doggone it. Compucar nitrous oxide systems, 1-800-NITROUS, or Mo's Speed Shop. You can call Mo's Speed Shop, which, you know, they works in conjunction with anybody. That's Mo's Speed Shop, doggone Augusta, Georgia. The number is
706-414-6688. That's Mo's Speed Shop.
What that number is again?
706-414-6688.
Now, if a dummy can remember that, you should be able to. All right, Dolemite, it could have been.
Why buy your next nitrous oxide system from Compucar? When it comes to nitrous oxide systems, we know what it takes to win, period. We can ship all nitrous oxide systems next day to you across the nation. If you buy local, you get local. You buy from a winner, you become a winner. More Grudge racers trust Compucar nitrous systems than any other shop in the Southeast.